Greetings, Lux lovers. Welcome or welcome back. Here we appreciate luxury through the lens of practicality, so if that sounds good to you, please consider subscribing and stay a while. I'd also like to share that my bag of the day is my Hermes mini Constance in Noir Epsom leather and gold hardware. So I recently watched Charis's video from LV Lover CC where her new Chanel bags were stolen. I'll link it below. I was so moved by this video that I really just had to come on here and share my thoughts. I'll share with you my safety tips when it comes to purchasing luxury, and I'll share my own robbery story at the end. My first safety tip when purchasing luxury is to really go early or go during the day. I know it's hard sometimes with work schedules, but at this time it's the lightest outside and there's more people around. I know in her video that she mentioned that she went in the evening and when they left all the stores were closing. And now I definitely don't want to victim shame them because this is absolutely not their fault. But I think it is worth noting these small details of their circumstance that we can learn from. My second piece of advice would be to ask for a white shopping bag if available. Sometimes some stores will even give you a regular colorful shopping bag and slip it inside the white bag if they offer this. I know, for example, at Hermes, you can ask for a white shopping bag and they'll put your items inside. And once they told me I could have an orange shopping bag to put in the white bag, it's really up to you. At this point though, I personally choose not to go out with a big bright orange shopping bag when I'm out in New York City. I also know that Cartier has offered this in New York City as well. And as luxury lovers, I know that we're all just so excited about enjoying our shopping experiences and fawning over things like beautiful packaging. And depending on your circumstance, we just really might have to put this aside and have safety be our first concern. In fact, I recently even complained about one of my major purchases that was simply thrown into a brown shopping bag, but maybe that was actually for the best to not attract unwanted attention. Third, if possible, try not to go alone. There are strength in numbers. Now this is, of course, is ideal, and even in her video, Charis did go with her husband, so there were two of them. So this isn't always going to work, but I think it's a good idea, if possible, to go with a friend or a loved one so that you can have each other's back if needed. I actually typically do my luxury shopping alone, so I rely on the other tips in this list to help compensate for that fact. Fourth is try to park by lights or in your entrances or heavily trafficked areas, not in remote corners or in a darkly lit place. It might seem counterintuitive, but parking where there's higher trafficked areas, you might think more people are walking by and more people might be likely to break in, but actually there's more people around just to be witnesses and to scare off any perpetrators. My fifth piece of advice would be to split up your items if possible. For example, when I purchased my watch, I had some other Hermes shopping items, but I put my watch in the box in my backpack and I put the other items that I purchased in the white bag. So I was physically carrying some of my items by hand, and then my watch, which was the most expensive item, was strapped to my back. This allows you to be able to mitigate the risk of losing one bag and losing it all. So for example, if something was taken out of my hands, I'd still have my watch, or if I left a bag in a taxi, not all would be lost. Next, I would suggest trying not to actually separate from your items if possible. For example, when I go to the hairdresser, I'll hold my bag in my lap as they put the cape over you to cut your hair, and even when you wash your hair. And if I know I'm going to get my nails done, I will bring a crossbody bag to be able to keep it by my side at all times. But I know that's not always reality. So seventh, if you need to be separated from your items, then do your best to hide them. The sad thing is that Charis and her husband actually did do this. They hid the items in their car and covered them up. However, they were under the impression that they were being followed, So no amount of hiding would have been able to prevent the break-in. But we've seen stories like this from other YouTubers for sure. So I would suggest if you have a closed trunk, put the items in that trunk so nobody can see them, or cover them with a blanket. But to me, the best case would be to bring them with you. Eighth, I would suggest to really just trust your intuition. Look around, be aware of your surroundings. If you catch someone's eye that's watching you, you might want to consider pivoting your plans. Maybe go back in your car and drive around, or pick another day to do whatever it is you are planning on doing. If you have a bad feeling about a situation, I would say go with your gut and trust your intuition. I'm a big believer in tuning into your emotions to help guide what you do. And 9, if needed, you should file a police report and take pictures. Here, the police report at least gives you a record of what transpired and what was taken, so that if you do have to file any claims in the future, you have a record that it was serious enough that you got the police involved and you're able to itemize the items that were lost. I know in her video, Charis said that potentially her credit card would help mitigate the loss. So we'll see what happens, but it's always a good idea to get it on record. And lastly, if you are confronted or threatened by a person, just give up the items and run away. These are just things. And I know that as luxury lovers, we love our items. Sometimes they are so hard to come by, so expensive, but I do have to say, put your personal safety first. These items that we love and cherish and collect are just things. We should never put ourselves at risk to keep these things if there's actual harm imminent to our body. And I'll quickly share my own robbery story. Thankfully, it wasn't anything surrounding a luxury purchase, but once I was robbed of my Metro card at a New York City Manhattan subway station while topping up my card at a machine. It was a typical bait and switch when I was putting money in to top up my card, and someone kind of got in between me and the card where it spits it out, and he switched it basically. So he tried to hand me back an empty card, but I knew something was up because the card that I had was like some special edition card, so it was a white Metro card, whereas they're usually yellow. So I knew something was up. Apparently, according to the video footage when they showed it to me later, I did grab him. And you should never do that, don't make contact. But I think it was just my reaction to the situation. I took the card that he gave me and I tried to test it with a swipe to see if there was any credit on it, but by then he had fled the scene. Now, while this was during the day, I was alone, and in the end I did file a police report. I also learned that I could deactivate that card remotely because the machine recorded the ID of that card when I topped it up using my credit card. So I hope you found some value in this collection of safety tips. If you're interested in similar useful luxury content in the future, please consider subscribing and joining our luxury loving community. I'm wishing you all a safe and healthy 4th of July, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!